Amanda Esco, and I am the director of the Religious Education Program here at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. I am so glad you are here with us today. Let's start Children's Chapel by lighting our chalice. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. Once again, I'm so glad you're here. Let's start Children's Chapel by taking a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Let's do it again. In through our nose and out through our mouth. We start our Children's Chapel by lighting our chalice and breathing so we can be grounded together in space. So thank you for participating. If we were in person, another thing we would do would be to share our joys and concerns. And that's something that I'd invite you to do now with those that are with you that you love. Joys and concerns is a moment in time where you can reflect back on your week or your day, think about what's going well, and maybe something that hasn't. For me this week, my garden, since you all have been invested in my garden, I know this year, has exploded. We've had cucumbers, eggplants, zucchinis, pumpkins, and a giant butternut squash that's growing. I'm really excited that the work that I've put in this spring and summer is finally starting to reap some rewards and tangible and tasty results. I am low on concerns this week. You know, I want our community to keep doing what the things they need to be doing so we can be in person as soon as humanly possible. That's my biggest concern. What's happening for you? What's going on in your life right now? Share with those that love you, that want you well, and I'll be right here waiting for you. Sharing your joys and concerns. It's an important thing for us to keep doing so we can stay in community with one another. Now, next up is our UU of the week. This week's UU of the week was a revolutionary. He was a first Black minister of the Universalist faith. I hope you enjoy him. His name is Joseph Jordan. Of the week was a revolutionary. His name was Joseph Jordan. He would become the first Black Universalist minister in the United States. He started a school and churches. His commitment to his community laid the groundwork for universalism in Black communities throughout the South. Joseph was born in June 1842 in West Norfolk, Virginia. He changed jobs a lot. In his lifetime, he was a laborer, a grocer, an oysterman, and a carpenter. He was such a skilled carpenter that he was able to build homes and then rent them to other people. As a Black person who owned land at the time, Joseph held a lot of power in the community. Joseph was always moved by religion and churches. In 1880, he became a Baptist minister. During this time as a minister, he was given a book, The Plain Guide to Universalism. Joseph was drawn to the idea that there was goodness in the universe and of universal salvation, which was not a concept taught in the Baptist faith he preached. Joseph also appreciated the Universalist Church's stance against oppression and bigotry of people. With his new beliefs, however, he could no longer preach in the Baptist church. So he went back to carpentry. During this time, he traveled to Philadelphia because he knew there was a large Universalist congregations there. In Philadelphia, he met Reverend Edwin Sweetser, the minister of the Universalist Church of the Messiah. He and Edwin studied together, and they became friends. When he returned to Norfolk, Joseph began preaching to whomever would listen. He rented a room as a chapel and built his own pulpit. A lot of people started coming to his church and asking him to start a school to help their children learn. Black children were not allowed to attend school with white children and were not given the same access to opportunities. Seeing the need in his community, Joseph wanted to be recognized as a full Universalist minister by the Universalist General Convention. They gave him a license for 1 year, and by March 31st, 1889, Joseph was ordained a full Universalist minister. He was the first Black minister of the Universalist faith. Reverend Joseph began the First Universalist Church of Norfolk. They needed their own building for worship and a school. In 1893, Joseph raised the funds to build a new building with the support of the Universalist General Convention. The school started in the building was a blessing to the community. When the building opened, around 100 kids attended the school. Reverend Joseph Jordan died on June 3rd, 1901. Without his leadership, the church and the school closed shortly after in 1906. His legacy lives on as a person inspired by the universal love of God to break barriers in the Universalist faith. Let's take a look and see what's inside our Wonder Box today. Wow! There is a lot of stuff in here. I have a book of writings and speeches from Martin Luther King Jr., another book of essays by Henry David Thoreau, a Jesus and Ruth Bader Ginsburg puppet, a Michelle Obama biography, and another puppet of King John Sigismund of Transylvania. There's a lot of stuff in this Wonder Box. There are so many things in our Wonder Box today because we are talking about our second source. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about our 6 sources. As Unitarian Universalists, we have not only our 7 principles, but our 6 sources. We have things we believe and the lenses that we form our beliefs through. The second source asks us to find words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers of structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Don Hazlitt wrote, "The second source calls to mind so many brave men and women who have challenged us to make this a better world. These are the visionaries who call us to action. The list is long, and I'm sure your list would be different than mine. I think of Margaret Sanger, who pushed conventions and laws of her time to help poor women who could not afford another baby. She had a vision of women being able to make their own choices about family planning. Susan B. Anthony saw a future where women would have the right to participate in our democracy. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamt of a world with equal justice for all and the end to discrimination and war. He said, 'I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war, that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that an unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word.' We need that vision so very badly now. We find prophetic people inside and outside our faith. These are people who quietly or loudly challenge us to work for a more just and peaceful world. The people inside our Wonder Box are just some examples of the exemplary lives we can draw inspiration from. Identifying people we admire who have done great work in this world is like a lighthouse we can point to. They shine a bright light to remind us of our past and the work still needing to be done. We need these people now more than ever. Our country and our world are facing tremendous challenges to our health, our economy, and our democracy. We can look to prophetic people like the people in our Wonder Box to help us find our way and to inspire us to take action for justice, compassion, and love. The prophetic people we look to can inspire us in our work for immigration reform, voting rights, the Poor People's Campaign, the Black Lives Matter movement, and so much more. Who inspires you in your work in the world? Talk about it with your people in your lives. Is there any social justice work that you want to do that's inspired from these prophetic people? I can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you for joining us today. To find out more about First Unitarian Church's work in the world, please visit us at slcuu.org. Until next time, let's heart